Welcome everyone to Science 200. We are starting a new term, September 2024, and we are going to be learning about some science this term. I know that some of you will be environmental science majors, but a lot of you will have other majors, criminal justice, psychology, business, education. We're going to find out about each other in the discussion board postings this week. So every week I will make a video. Every week I will post announcements so they're written out, but I will also make a video. And please, I implore you to please watch the videos. I know it takes an extra 15 minutes of your time in a week, and I know you are strapped for time, but watch it or listen to it when you're brushing your teeth and washing your face in the morning, eating your breakfast. That might make you nauseous. Anyway, figure out some time when you can watch my video and get hints and tips and tricks for your assignments, but also important information about the science. I have a lot of experience in biology. I'm a biologist and a microbiologist by training. I have extensive work history in the public health field, but I also have research experience and I have teaching experience, and I will share that with you during this term. All the photographs that you see are mine. I've taken them. I really enjoy nature photography. Okay, so let's get started with the week 1 announcements, because here we are, Labor Day. We are kicking it off right off the bat, so we've got things to do. Make sure you have access to your web text, your Sumo web text. Web text is just a textbook that's online. And the way that this textbook is set up, there are 8 chapters, and you have an 8-week term, and so you cover 1 chapter per week. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Of course, the instructions in this chapter 1 will also be telling you that. There are assignments throughout the chapter. You will answer questions. You will answer poll questions. You will answer short answer questions. And most of these are graded by the textbook itself. I do not grade them. They automatically get graded, and the grades are automatically uploaded into Brightspace. I don't think it's actually instantaneous, but still they get uploaded into Brightspace. I grade everything else. Now, I do make comments. I do check on them, and if you have any trouble, all you have to do is let me know, and I will give it a look and see if I can figure out what the heck is going on, because sometimes things happen. Okay, so get access to your Sumo web text. It's really, really important. Read chapter 1, read the whole chapter, answer all the questions. There are 4 sections to this chapter, and the first one is how to use the textbook, so that's pretty important. And 1 and 2 are about the processes of science, and 4 is about the topics that you have to choose from, which I'm getting to in just a minute. Complete all the exercises, all the questions. Do that early in the week if you can, because they're fairly easy to get through. Now, one of the weeks is the readings are really long, but I'll tell you about that when we get there. I think it's week 3, but anyway, I'll tell you about that when we get that far. You can redo questions. The instructions will tell you this. You can redo questions and get a better grade. If you flub up on some questions, that's all right. You can go back and redo them. Now, know that everything on that page wipes out, and you have to do everything over on the page if you want to redo. It's not just one question at a time, but still you have the opportunity to improve your grades. All right, then you're going to select a topic that you are going to research for our entire term. You're going to start out this first week by selecting a topic. Okay, so here are suggested topics. You don't have to use one of these, but, and that's a big but, if you want to choose something else, you have to run it past me, and I have to okay it before you can move forward. And I have some other suggestions, like light pollution. This is one of my pet peeves. I love going to the beach, and I notice when I'm at the beach, you drive on a road, you turn off your lights, and you can see so many stars in the sky because of less light pollution than is here in the city around where I live. So light pollution is really big. And microplastics pollution, a serious issue now. And I think it really is going to be a bigger issue in the coming years. So we have to get a handle on this. We have to figure out a way how to dispose of plastics where they don't end up in our environments, in other species' bodies, and in our bodies. So those are two extra ones that I have right there for you. But what else do we have? Genetically modified organisms, and these are basically the organisms that we use as food. They are very, very widespread in use. Basically, any corn or corn product that you use is genetically modified. Soybeans, same thing. Quite a few foods that we consume are GMOs. Now, everybody thinks, Frankenfoods. Mad scientists are in labs and they're mixing together these potions and making these horrific organisms. No, 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 no. It costs too much to do that. So nobody's going to do that. They only add 1 or 2 genes to a corn plant to give it some new trait where then it might be herbicide resistant, or it might resist a particular type of pest that uses it as food. So if you want to do GMOs, that is awesome, but please go into this topic thinking that you're going to learn something about it, because you will. Electric cars, very popular topic these days. My brother-in-law is now on his, I don't know how many. I think he's on his 5th Tesla. He keeps buying them and selling them, buying them and selling. He's got one sitting in his driveway right now. So electric vehicles, they don't go very far though. Anyway, I have looked into hybrids because I'm interested in that. Electric vehicles, take a look at that. Are they as environmentally friendly as everybody thinks that they are? We'll find out. Commercial nuclear energy. We are going back to this because despite what people think, it is a tremendously safe type of energy and it doesn't create carbon emissions. Genetic engineering, and we're talking about genetic engineering in human beings. Okay, this is not done yet. It is not ethical to do this. It is not ethical to manipulate the genes in an embryo, in a human embryo. It just isn't, because we don't know the effects of it. Now, there have been lots and lots of studies in animal models, so that's probably what you're going to be looking at. But we really are talking about genetic engineering in humans and what we could fix, because we actually have the ability to do this now. What could we fix in human DNA? What would we want to fix? What should we leave alone? So there's all kinds of ethical issues with that one. Ocean acidification, which is a byproduct of climate change and greenhouse gases being released into the atmosphere. It is completely changing the ocean and marine life, and not in a good way. So you can read about that. Biodiversity conservation. There are all kinds of directions you can go in for this topic. You can look at one specific area like the Amazon rainforest. You could look at a national park near your house. You could look at the whole biosphere and see where we need to do biodiversity conservation. So biodiversity is all the different species that live together in an ecosystem, and each one fulfills a role in that ecosystem. And when one is taken out, say one important species becomes extinct, then you're going to have problems in your ecosystem. How are we destroying biodiversity? By removing habitats is what we're doing. I mean, climate change is bad enough, but then we're also just completely decimating whole habitats, especially because of construction. I know where I live, I see it literally every single day. New schools, new homes, brand new subdivisions everywhere. Every path of travel that I have, I see this, and nobody considers the ecosystems that were destroyed to make these changes. So those are the topics. Like I said, if you don't want to use one of those, you can choose a different one, but we have to discuss it, you and I, and we will do that through email. All right. This week, part of your reading is about Alexander Fleming. Now, he was a microbiologist. I'm a microbiologist, so of course I love this. The first couple of weeks in this textbook, I just am thrilled about. Public health comes next. But here's Alexander Fleming. So Alexander Fleming was an English microbiologist, and he had gone on vacation, and he came back, and he was cleaning out petri dishes. Now, obviously, he didn't have graduate students because they would have been doing this grunt work if he did have some. But anyway, he was cleaning out glass petri dishes. It was back before they had plastic. He was cleaning them out, and in his lab, they were growing Staphylococcus aureus. That's a type of bacteria, in us, it causes staph infections. So his lab was growing Staphylococcus aureus bacteria on agar in petri dishes. So he was cleaning out the old agar, and when he looked at this plate, there you go, there's a picture of it right there. He noticed that there was a mold growing on the surface of the agar, and what was so important was that there was this clear zone around that mold where there were no bacteria growing. And he said to himself, that mold must be producing some type of chemical that's inhibiting the growth of bacteria. That is very interesting. So he said, first of all, I'm going to identify this mold, and it was Penicillium notatum. That sounds kind of familiar. Penicillium notatum was the type of mold, it's a bread mold that was found on the agar. And then he said, okay, next, I'm going to isolate the chemical that's in this agar, identify it, and see if that really is what's inhibiting the growth of bacteria. So he isolated the chemical, and he called it penicillin, which was the first true antibiotic. An antibiotic is a chemical that's used to inhibit the growth or kill bacteria. That's what an antibiotic is. So he was the first person to isolate an antibiotic, penicillin. Now, when he isolated penicillin and found out that it really was inhibiting the growth of bacteria, that was the end of his work. He didn't care anything else about it. I think he could see the uses of it, but he had no interest in figuring out how to grow huge volumes of these molds and how to isolate the penicillin and manufacture it and put it in a form where people could use it. So other scientists came along who did that. And this was 1928 that he discovered this, and by the 1940s, when World War II came along, we were able to use penicillin to treat soldiers in the field. And this was terribly important because most soldiers who died in wars did not die from their initial wounds, but they died from infections caused by the wounds or caused by the surgery that was used to try to help save their lives, amputating legs or whatever it was. Most of the time, they died from bacterial infections that they got as a result of their wounds and their surgeries. And so along comes penicillin, and many, many soldiers' lives were saved in World War II, American soldiers, by the use of penicillin. So this was just awesome. And when all the soldiers came home, they talked about this miracle drug. And of course, that started the age of antibiotics then. In the 1950s, we discovered many more antibiotics, and we've been using them ever since. If I were to ask y'all right now, how many of you have taken antibiotics before? Every one of you, almost, will raise your hand. We've all taken antibiotics to help us get better from infections. So that was the story of Alexander Fleming. I love that story. Sorry, went on and on. I know, I can't help it. And that leads me into how science works, because that is your example of how science works with Alexander Fleming. So you learned this in the 7th grade. I know you did. you learned a simplified version of how science works. It is not as simple as 7th grade biology class that you took. So I'm going to give you a little more detail about how it really, really, really works. And still, my version is going to be the simplified version because this takes years to go through this process. So first of all, you have to gather background information. You have to learn as much about a topic as you possibly can. You have to read all of the literature, everything that you can get your hands on. You will have an extensive library of articles, scientific articles on a topic before you even begin to think about a question to ask, okay? So the background information gathering is terribly, terribly important. You have to understand your topic backward and forward and up and down and every which way before you can ask a good question. So then you formulate a hypothesis, and that's basically an if-then type of a question. It's a question in statement form. You formulate your hypothesis, which you have already thought through about how you could possibly perform experiments to test this hypothesis, and then you perform your experiments. Now, if you've taken a science lab before and you were lucky, you got to perform your experiment 3 times. That's not how it works in science. You do the experiments over and over and over and over and over again because you've got to make sure that the results that you're getting are true results and are valid results that you're getting because of the thing that you're testing, okay? So you perform the experiments, yes, but a gazillion times. All right, you collect your data all along. Collect it. You analyze it. You run statistics on it to make sure that it is statistically valid, statistically significant, whatever this phenomenon is that you are looking at. Then draw your conclusions. Now, as you're going along, you're figuring this out, right? It's not just, oh, eureka, now I know what it all means. No, you're figuring this out as you go along. So you draw your conclusions about your hypothesis and what you've discovered. And you're also going to decide, okay, what are the next steps? What are the next things that I need to do? What are the next things that anybody out there in science could do to help answer more of these questions? And how could we design experiments to test these new questions that are coming up? So you figure all this out, and then you either publish your work in a scientific journal. A scientific journal is like a magazine, okay? But of course, everything now is online. But you publish your work. Now, you don't just send it in and they say, okay, sure, yeah, let's put it in here. No, it does not work like that. Very rarely do you get a message back that says, yes, it is accepted, your work is accepted exactly as it is. And no, that doesn't happen. Sometimes you do get a strong rejection letter that says, no, this is not accepted for publication in our journal. Usually what happens is you get a letter that says, if you make these changes, and they list them out for you, that have been written by your reviewers who have read through your work. If you make these changes, then we will consider publishing. And they usually will at that point. So publication is important. If you can be published, you try to get published. Sometimes you're also asked to just present your work at a scientific meeting. Now, there are very few of these scientists who are asked to present their work because, as you can imagine, at a meeting, it's a couple of days long, maybe it's a week long. How many slots do you have for speakers? There aren't going to be many slots. And so only the most important work is going to be presented in this way. So usually you're going to publish. But if you can present, you do. And look at my face on there that I put on there. Oh, it's so scary. It's always scary to send in your work because, you know, it's like your baby. It's like your child, and you send it off and then they say, It's not quite good enough. So you can imagine how you feel. Part of this process is peer review, and this is tremendously important in science. Everybody has to be able to look at your work and evaluate it and critique it. Nowadays with social media, I mean, everybody understands this, right? You put something out there that isn't too nice, isn't too popular, whatever, yeah, people come down on you. That's the peer review process in science, and that's how it's always been. Plus, other people who do the same type of work validate your work. And if it is valid, then they'll use it when they write their papers and they'll reference you in your work. So peer review is a kind of cool process. It keeps everyone honest and it validates the work that you've done. So it's a terribly important process. Uh-oh, I think I'm going to sneeze. Uh-oh. Excuse me. That doesn't usually happen. Aren't puffins cute? I'm sorry, they are so cute. I saw this one in Scotland, took lots of pictures of puffins. They are so doggone cute. Anyway, okay, so what do you have to do this week? You have discussion board postings. Your initial post, you don't have discussion board postings every week, but this first week you do. And when you do have them due, the initial post is due by Thursday evening before midnight. Your 2 response posts to your classmates, 2 classmates, are due by Sunday evening before midnight. Okay, so this first week, introduce yourself. Tell us something about you so that we get to know who you are. Whatever you want us to know about you. What you like to be called is awesome, especially if it's different from the name that we see. Where are you from? What's your major? What are your interests, hobbies, anything like that, so that we can make connections in our group. Please do share anything that you want. Pets, I always love that part. Anything like that, hobbies, anything. What do you hope to learn from the class? And so you see I have 1 or 2 paragraphs for that part. Then answer the questions. What field of natural science interests you and why? These are the natural sciences, and there's a list in chapter 1. Physics, let's see if I can name them. Physics, chemistry, biology, geology, astronomy, environmental science. There you go. Now notice, not astrology. No. Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces. No. Astrology is not a science. Psychology, sociology, those are social sciences. They are not natural sciences. So natural science. Okay? What interests you and why? And is this field related to the topic that you have chosen? So if you chose ocean acidification and you were interested in biology, yes, that does pertain. It has to do with climate science too, but it also morphs over into how changing the pH of the ocean affects marine life. So that's biology. All right, your 2 response posts are due by Sunday evening before midnight, and you're going to make connections with your 2 classmates. What do you have in common with that person? Do you live in the same area? Do you have the same major? Do you have the same interest? What do you have in common? And do you agree or disagree with them about the natural science that they chose? And what do you think about their topic that they've chosen? That's kind of cool too, if we look at that. Discussion board post. Oh, and then, when I talked about, sorry, flipping back and forth. When I talked about your topic, you are going to write up some work on the topic that you have chosen. You're going to have to tell me which topic you have chosen. All right, let's head back to the last paragraph. At the end of my videos every week, I will give you hints or tips or something helpful. watch my videos. I'm begging you, please watch my videos and the announcements. I promise you, they will help you. Deadlines are important. Sunday night is always the most important one because everything is due by Sunday night before midnight. But discussion board posts, those initial posts, are due by Thursday before midnight. Follow the guidelines and rubrics for each assignment. So some of you don't know what those terms mean. A rubric is a grading form. It's what I look at. It's what you can see. It tells you what you have to explain in each little section in order for you to get all your total points, and what kind of grade you're going to get if you don't quite fulfill everything, and what kind of grade you're going to get if you don't fulfill anything. So that's a rubric. The guidelines are the instructions. The instructions for every assignment. Make sure you follow those. That's very important. You will also come across some templates in the textbook. A template is just, if you don't know what that is, it's just like a form that shows you how you need to set up your answers. Use the templates. Read the feedback that I give. Your topic you will be covering all term long. And so 1 week you'll turn in something, I'll grade it. You can fix it the next week, and then it will be good, right? And when you get toward the end of the course, in weeks 7 and 8, then you will have corrected everything that you needed to, because I have told you what you need to fix. Label everything. Label your files. Don't just put Sci 200 number 1. I don't know. There's all kinds of ways you can label, but what is this assignment? Assignment 4-3 project and your name. So label everything. When you set up your templates, you're going to put the class name, which is Science 200. Put the date, just the month is fine. September 2024, my name, your name, and what this assignment is. Label everything. It's very important. And then if you have any trouble along the way, if you don't understand something, there's going to be things in here that you don't understand. When in doubt, ask me. That's what I'm here for. That's why I teach, because I want to help you learn. So all you have to do is ask me. I promise you, I will answer you as quickly as I can. I've always got my phone open, so I see when email messages pop up. But I will answer you as quickly as I can. If I'm driving on the interstate, I'm probably not going to answer you then. But I will get back to you as quickly as I can. If you need more than just an email response, we can get together in an online face-to-face meeting. I can set that up through WebEx because I have an account there, and I can invite you into that. We will figure it out. So just let me know if you need anything or you're running into any issues. We will deal with them together. All right, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. I am very excited about the term. And with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week number 1.